What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Anthony and Michele, and we are discussing the first episode in the highly anticipated Game of Thrones spinoff. It is titled House of the Dragon. It premiered last night, and I was blown away.
Fantastic.
It was really, really good.
It was really good. And I know a lot of us were gun shy about this series because of, the last season or two of Game of Thrones, depending on who you talk to, kind of like, okay, what are they going to do with this spinoff? Is it going to be good? Should I be weary? And when I tell you, when I started watching it, even that introduction before they really got into the episode, I remember feeling the way I felt when I watched the first episode of Game of Thrones 10 years ago. I sat there at the TV and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, they starting out with some intrigue. Okay, this is interesting. And like literally sucked in for the entire episode. I watched it twice last night.
They pulled us right in. Into that environment.
No hesitation.
No hesitation.
You see the memes today. The meme game has been strong today. And somebody's meme said, Game of Thrones fans after the last season, like, and then after House of the Dragon, like, all right, bitch, I'm in. That's literally what the meme said.
I'm never watching another Game of Thrones thing ever again. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Right. And I had some people like that. Somebody else said the same thing. They were like, Game of Thrones fans after the last season, like we're gone. And then once the House of the Dragon trailer dropped, here goes somebody putting a Targaryen flag on their house. I was like, I feel like I need to go buy one and put it on my house.
I pulled out the undersized Targaryen shirt.
It looks good on you though. Very appropriate. I have on one that says everything is better with wine in the belly. It's one of Tyrion's quotes. But I don't have anything for House of the Dragon yet. I will have something by next week. So yeah. But let's talk about this episode, because I've only read like the very first Game of Thrones book, and then once I heard about how the story started deviating from the books, I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about the books for now. There's still a lot of them. He's still writing one. So I was like, I'll catch up on the books later. Then I found the Fire and Blood book in the thrift store a few weeks ago. I think I paid less than $3 for this, and this like in brand new condition. But I was still like, okay, I don't want to be spoiled. I'm not going to read the story until after the show is over, because from what I understand, the way that this book is written out, it's basically like the history of the Targaryens.
And it's more like an encyclopedia than it is the actual novel.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to wait until the show starts. And, once it finishes, I'll go ahead and read it. After that episode last night, I was in my bed at 2:00 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. I'm supposed to be going to sleep so I can get up for work. And I literally just thumbed through it. And I was like, okay, so where is the chapter that talks about? And then I was like, okay, let me read the first page. And I read like 12 pages, and I was like, I've got to go to bed. But yeah, sucked in. I am all in, just completely.
Yeah, it's like a really good feeling to be back in that world.
It is.
Like that opening scene, and like we always wanted dragons, and then
we have 10 of them.
Start with dragons.
We have 10 of them. Yes,
dragons.
That scene was so beautiful. Dragons. Yes,
and she had, and I like how they have different dragons. Like they don't look the same. Like her dragon looks a little different than the other dragons.
Especially Daemon's dragon.
Yeah. Just seeing them interact with the dragons is just I'm sold. Like it could go downhill from there. I'll be fine as long as they give me more dragons.
Right. And like I said, we have 10 of them in this series. So yes, this is great. And then it's like they're not all tethered to one person. They're they're tethered to different people. And I mean, even I guess those were the dragon trainers. Like you see the dragon sitting there kind of sort of communicating with the trainers, and the trainers are talking to them. He's training an apprentice and they're talking to the dragon. It's like the dragon is very much understanding what's going on, and when he's told to go into his little cave, he walks on into his cave and he does what they've trained him to do. And I have a feeling that's probably not going to last, because a dragon is a beast.
Knowing where the story is going, the dragons are gonna have their own personalities, and they're all got to be tied to particular people,
right?
Because of where, when we get to the dance of dragons and they're just all fighting each other, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Now, how familiar are you with the book story, with the book canon?
I'm only 3.5. I stopped halfway through the 4th book.
Okay.
And I haven't picked it up since.
Okay. So have you read the story at all in Fire and Blood? I
have it in my Nook, which I haven't charged in like a year. So I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm tempted to go ahead and get it on my iPad, but I'm still waiting. I don't know. I'm still deciding. I think I want to wait to see this play out, because I kind of know the story a little bit.
Okay.
But I want to see how they do it on the show before I read the book, before I start reading the stories.
Yeah. Well, I will say from what I've read so far, they're staying for the most part accurate. There are some things that they've changed. There are some characters or some histories that they kind of altered, I guess for time's sake, because like when we're introduced to the story in the beginning, you have King Jaehaerys, who is trying to decide on a successor between Viserys, who is in the book his grandson, and then Queen Rhaena, Lady Rhaena, who is, I believe, his
Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
Rhaenyra.
No, Daenerys is the younger one. Rhaena is the one that's married to Corlys, I think.
No, Daenerys is married to Corlys, and Rhaenyra is his daughter.
Yes. Okay, you're right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, they're very close in names. Very close.
They are. Isn't there a Rhaena in the series too?
They may be later, I think.
Okay. So it's gonna be a minute to keep track of all these names.
This one here is like, okay, what was that name again? What was that name again?
I wrote them down. I had to write them down because they were just too close to each other. I was like, let me write this down.
Right. So I think in the book series,
Rhaenyra and Viscerys are cousins. They are Jaehaerys' grandchildren.
Yeah.
Because she's the oldest granddaughter and he's the oldest grandson.
Right, because she's the daughter of the oldest son, I think. And then he's the son of the younger son. Both of those sons died, which is why the succession was in question in the first place. Yeah. Now in the books, her son was the one that they were trying to put in the line of succession against Viserys. So, they kind of eliminated that whole thing. And then, of course, they aged up some of the characters because Queen Aemma was 11 when she and Viserys got married, and he was already, I think, like in his late teens, early 20s. You know how they do that thing. So I'm glad they aged him up. So yeah, they made a few differences in that sense, but for the most part, I think they kept the core of the story intact enough for it to make sense when they translate it to the screen, just from what I've read before. But the characters...
And one of the things that I do know is they said the way the book is written, it allowed for them to make changes and elaborate on some things that he didn't really elaborate on. So...
Yes, I can see that. Yeah. And I'm only a few, I think by the time, let's see, where I am in the reading, it's probably only about maybe a third of what the episode gave us. So the episode is moving fairly fast. I feel like they set a good pace with it though, because for this being a whole new set of characters this story takes place 172 years before Daenerys's time, and they make sure that they tell us this in the beginning of the episode. I feel like they paced it very well. I felt like they did a really good job of explaining the dynamics and what was going on without overly explaining it. It's like they gave us enough history for us to understand, oh, okay, so this whole thing with the line of succession, this has been an issue before, and this is why it's going to be such a big deal in this time. So I think
they did a great job setting it up and also getting us invested in the characters and also being prepared for the conflict that's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
And it makes it quite interesting.
I think they also did a good job of, one of the things that may have drawn us in is they echoed some of the things that we are familiar with, especially characters, because I swear Otto Hightower is like a discount Littlefinger. He really is. And I can feel a little bit of Jaime in Daemon, just a little bit.
I think let me see, who does Daemon remind me of more?
I feel a little bit of Jaime in him.
I don't know, because I feel like the characters share that arrogance as far as them being, top of their game. But where Daemon seems to be more on the cruel and violent side, I think Jaime, for the most part, at least what I gathered from his character watching it, the stuff that he did it for show or for loyalty and not because he enjoyed it. I get the feeling that Daemon enjoys the pain that he inflicts.
When we first meet Jaime, the show that he puts on feels like what we get from Daemon, but you're right, Daemon is genuine.
Yeah, I never got
Jaime we didn't really know that Jaime's was kind of for show or fake until later. But in the beginning, Jaime was completely arrogant. I'm better than you. I'm gonna do what I want to do and treat everyone how I want to treat them.
And push a little kid out the window.
He pushed a little kid out the window.
That's true.
Early Jaime, but he changed as it went on.
Yeah.
Like the facade kind of went away.
Yeah, but even with what he did with Bran, I never looked at that. That wasn't something that he did out of enjoyment or fun. That was something that he did to protect his family.
Yeah. And the thing with,
he was smiling when he did it, so I'm just a little concerned.
He was talking to Cersei, so
okay. But the thing about Daemon, because we'll probably get into this, is Daemon. He shows you that he's caring and kind and tender. He has those moments where you can tell that he loves his family and he cares about them. He shows you that side of him, which is very similar to Jaime. You see that in Jaime as well. Despite all the other stuff, they still have that. He's not doing it really because he's cruel. That's just how he is. But in those moments of like trying to get Rhaenyra to do what she needed to do because her father couldn't, at the funeral.
Yes.
And the look on his face before he gave his speech in the whorehouse that he got banished for, basically.
Yeah.
You see those moments of tenderness. Like even when he was talking to King Viscerys before he basically banished him, he was basically saying, look, I'm your brother. I'm here for you.
Right.
But you're treating me like shit.
Right.
So whatever comes back is going to come back because of how he was being treated.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you see the relationship between the two brothers, even when Daemon is there with the small council and he is being a total jerk to Lord Hightower, the king is still backing him up. He was like, look, my brother likes to rile you. Why do you let him? Like he never publicly admonishes his brother. That's the thing, and you think about the kings and stuff before that, or that we're used to in Game of Thrones, like Robert Baratheon. He would call out Joffrey in a heartbeat, talk about how disappointed he was, or you let this little girl beat you, just that kind of belittling in front of everybody. And you don't get that vibe with Viserys and his brother. It's like when he does say something to him, it's kind of gentle, or he does it behind closed doors, but he never just like, they never publicly go at each other up until that moment in the throne room. So you get that there is more of a brotherly bond there than we're used to seeing, I guess, in some ways that you could say. And
I have
they really respect each other.
Some choice words about Otto Hightower, because
we will get into Otto Hightower, because I have a lot of things to say about this man. A lot of things to say about him.
Discount Littlefinger. Yes. Great value Littlefinger, as Mike would say.
I would count him worse. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. To me, he's worse than Littlefinger, because the things that, yes, Littlefinger manipulated situations, you know, to try to better himself and to try to raise himself up. But the things that he did and the people that he betrayed or that he manipulated, they weren't family. This dude here,
his own family,
is basically whoring his daughter out to the king after the queen dies. Oh yeah, you might want to go comfort him and wear your mother's dress. I said, what?
Really?
You want to know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Anne Boleyn's father in The Tudors. The way he did his first daughter, he had her play the whore to King Henry, and then when Henry got bored with her, he basically turned to Anne and was like, okay, your turn. That was the vibe I got from Lord Otto Hightower, which is weird because at first, the way he speaks to his daughter in the early part of the episode, you get the feeling that he really, that he cares about his daughter, that he favors her. And then when he said that at the end, I was like, okay. I was like, I think I see where this is going now. Because you about to try to make your daughter the new queen.
Yep. The very next day, almost.
Was it even the next day? Like, oh my goodness. I think a few days had passed between when the queen passed and the funeral, but yeah, I was like, dude, the body is not even cold. Like literally, the body might still be out there burning. They burned her with dragon fire. So literally, the body may not be cold, and you're already sending your daughter, who in the books is supposed to be like early teens. But of course, that's what they did back then. These gross, like. So when I read the story, Viserys was wed to Queen Emma, or she was Princess or Lady Emma back then. She was only 11. They didn't even consummate the marriage until 2 years later, until she started her period. And the speculation in the book is that the reason why she had so many stillbirths and miscarriages, and why, her one son didn't make it out the cradle, is because she was too young to have been wed and procreating. Duh, you think? But anyway, yeah, Lord Otto Hightower. So he is the hand of the king.
Yes, and he has been, it seems like, manipulating the situation between Viserys and Daemon. Like,
yes,
his suggestions have been, oh, make him master of coin. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Make him something else. Oh, no, that doesn't work. And he's just slowly driving a wedge between the two of them.
Right.
Because, like Daemon said, he should have made Daemon his hand. Like, he really should have.
But
and my thing, like, Daemon's head, Targaryen blood runs thick. Yeah. And it's them really against the world. The only thing keeping them in power is the dragons. They only have each other.
Right.
And that's basically what he was trying to tell him. And he's like, look, I'm the one that's been protecting you. But you keep trying to drive me away. It's not him driving him away. It's Otto Hightower, because Otto knows what the score is.
He does. He knows he doesn't want Daemon in that room.
Right.
He does. He's perfectly satisfied for Daemon to miss the council meetings and destroy him and tear him down every chance he gets.
But this is my thing. You suggested to the king, okay, after being master of coin didn't work, and what was the other one, being something having to do with the law or something?
Master of laws.
Yeah, that didn't work. So you send him, or you suggest that he go be commander
of City Watch.
Of the City Watch. You put somebody that you can't stand, who openly antagonizes you, and someone that it's obvious, at least to us watching, you're trying to drive a wedge between him and his brother. You put him in charge of the fucking army.
He knew what he was doing because he knew that they would be cruel, but he also knew he would bring him in shape. He knew that it was going to be he knew that it was going to look bad at first. Like, he knew that Dane was going to go in and clean up the streets any way possible.
Well, and then he was
let's talk about that any way possible.
Because it was his suggestion to put him in that position. And he's like, oh no, well, maybe that wasn't such a great idea.
But look at everybody else. Maybe that was a great idea.
And everybody else is like,
right. But my
we having visitors soon.
But my thing is, you're putting the person who doesn't like you in charge of an army who can turn around and attack you. And that's my whole point.
Yeah.
Like, you keep doing these things to drive a wedge between him and his brother. You keep poking the bear. You already see what this man is doing to the common people who are not even pissing him off. He's following the law. And he says it when they admonish him. He was like, I'm following the laws that we have. Yeah. This is what the law says.
It says if you rape, you get your penis cut off. I did that. If you're a murderer, you're beheaded. I did that. If you steal, I chop up your head. I did. What did I do wrong?
He basically
just did it all in one night. But what did I do wrong?
We clean the streets.
I mean,
and I think he made the City Watch that we know of, the gold cloaks today. It probably started with him.
Yes, that's what it says in the books. Yeah, that he was the one that ornamented them with the gold cloaks that they now wear. But yeah, when you talk about going in and cleansing the streets and cleaning up the crime, like when they started marching out, I'm thinking this is just going to be a few people. No, it's like you said, it's like they went to every single house, like they knew who was committing what crimes, and they went and got them all up. They were cutting hands off. They were cutting heads off.
Penises.
And that was the thing, because I was like, did they just cut the penis off? Did they cut the balls off? Did they take the whole thing? Because when they sat that down and put the camera on it, I was like, I don't know what it is, and I'm not about to freeze.
Me neither.
So I just assumed it was all of it.
Yeah. They just laid it on the.
As far as I am concerned, it's all of it.
They laid it down and chopped it off.
I was like, oh, okay.
And then 2 full carts of body parts.
Full body parts. Carts of body parts.
He cleaned up them streets, though.
He did his job.
Can you imagine the infections that set into the people who got amputated? Because there's no sterilization back then. You just cutting random folks. You're cutting off their body parts, and then you're going to the next person and cutting off a body part here. You're cutting a hand off here. You're cutting a dick off there.
What would Mike say? If you can't do the grime, then don't do the crime.
He got this. I mean, he got the city cleaned up. I bet you those people would think twice before doing any of those crimes. They may still do it. There are still hard times. There are people who.
I got one good hand. I'm not gonna get caught stealing again.
Not again.
Well, maybe not the people who've already been caught, but they might have a brother.
They made a good point. They're about to have visitors. They want their visitors to come and feel safe. We have to clean up the streets.
That's a very extreme way to do it, but I guess, it got the job done.
It worked.
It did.
So, A point for Damon.
But part of that display of force is kind of what gives the king pause in, as far as putting him in the line of succession. It's like, yeah, no, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea. And of course, you got people whispering in his ear.
Otto, because
it's really Otto.
Lord Corlys is on board with it.
Let's talk about Lord Corlys. Okay, let's talk about Brother Man. Because when I'm reading about this man in the books, he is one of the most powerful men in Westeros at the time, if not the most powerful, at least the most richest.
He's supposed to be like Tyrion, not Tyrion, Tywin Lannister.
They say his family at one point even surpassed the Lannisters in wealth because of what he did and his smarts. He's, the way they describe him in the book, he's very intelligent, and we got to see a little bit of that in the episode last night. But we also saw Otto Hightower try to shut him down when he tried to speak. I was like, oh, we're not gonna have this. First of all, we only got one black man on the small council. We're not about to do this whole talking over. We're gonna hush you up. Corlys is just sitting there looking at them like he is just biding his time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He
is just biding his time.
He is not in a rush for anything. We'll just see how this plays out, He
is playing the long game.
Yep.
Yes.
You can tell it, but you can also tell he's very, like, while they're sitting there talking about little trivial things at the beginning, he was like, my lords, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. This is what this person is doing. And I mean, he was all about business.
Yeah. He said, was the crab something, the crab captain or what? He said, this is the dude we need to be worried about right here.
Right.
And they should have been listening to him like, this is what we need to be worried about, right?
But they dismissed him and start talking about other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And from there, I'm like, this kingdom is going downhill.
Yeah. Now, one side note, one of the spinoff shows is supposed to be about him, the sea snake.
Oh, that works for me.
Yeah, his rise to where he is.
Okay, yes, and he had quite a rise.
Yeah.
Just reading his portion in the story, it was like several pages that they talked about the sea snake and how revered he was and how well respected and how, business savvy, and what he literally brought himself up to be one of the most powerful men in Westeros just by making smart decisions, making smart investments, making the right connections. I'm reading this book and I was like, they better make sure we see a lot of this dude in this season. But yeah, if they're going to give him his own spinoff, I'm all for it. So, I mean, especially if they can do a series for him and the first episode is just this good, yeah, I'm on board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board.
And also like how when it was suggested that Damon still be his heir, he was like, sure, yeah, that sounds like that works. He's behind that, Damon being there. But then when they said, well, what about Rhaenyra?
Hold on a second.
He didn't disagree with it either.
But I think he was less on board with that one because he was like, if y'all are going to choose a female heir, then my wife is way over here.
And she has a son heir too. So she can rule, and then she has a son to back her up.
Right.
So yeah, that's when he started like,
but trust me, switch. He has a card to play.
Oh,
in that situation too. Mm-hmm. Because if you watch the previews, who is she's supposed to marry? His son. So I think they're going to be betrothed.
Oh, okay. You mean the little bitty white-haired little boy that we saw?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you know what?
Or unless he has an older son that wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was going to say the way that they write, well, not even just the writing, but the way that they did betrothals and relationships back there. I'm going to go back to the Tudors because, again, that took place in kind of sort of that time period. When you look at that episode, the episode where they have the ceremony of the betrothal of the Dauphin of France and Mary Tudor. He's a grown ass man, like in his 20s or 30s. She is a child, like not even hit puberty yet. And I was like, and this is what they did back then. And so, I'm glad they aged these characters up so that we don't have to look at that. I mean, even in the main Game of Thrones show, you know, the kids were still kids. They just weren't as young as they were in the books, because I believe
they aged them all up.
Yeah, because I think
They
by about 5 years, because I think
Yeah.
Sansa in the book was like 11.
Yeah, they aged them all up.
So yeah.
So
But
yeah, hopefully they have a son that he's off.
But then I think there's supposed
doing
to be a
something
time
else.
jump too.
oh,
So-
okay. So let's talk about this break in the line of succession. So King Viserys has no apparent heir. That's the term. He has the one daughter, and as the queen mentioned during the course of the episode, she lost, I think she said, 2 babies in the cradle. She had
3 stillborns.
3 stillborns. I think she said 3 miscarriages, maybe, or a few miscarriages. So basically, she has all these dead children. Oh, 5. She said 5 dead children in twice that time.
Yeah, in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because she told him, she was like, I'm not doing this anymore. She was like, I know I'm supposed to give you an heir, and I'm so sorry I haven't, but I'm mourning all the dead children I can. I don't blame her. And he didn't, you know, the thing about him, he didn't argue with her. He didn't tell her anything like that was her duty. Like, he really loved his wife / cousin.
He felt like this was the one. This was the one. This is my son. I feel it in my bones. So you can stop after this, because we will have our son. We're done.
I know the book says it's probably because of her age, but her probably being a Targaryen as well probably didn't help the situation.
Yeah, because they were first cousins. Which, of course, you know, we know that the Targaryens always marry brother and sister, uncle and niece, cousin and cousin, that sort of relationship. But they seemed well matched. They seemed like they really loved each other and they respected each other. They do seem to dote on their daughter, even though, you know, the daughter, she has these, I won't say she felt jealous, but you could tell that she felt hurt, because her father, like she said, for all her life, he's wanted a son, because she, you know, I think in the show, they kind of portray her as the oldest, you know, of all the children that they've had. And, you know, the queen is having a difficult pregnancy. You can see that from the onset. She's very big. She's very uncomfortable. It's close to the time when she's supposed to have this baby, to the point where they're already talking about having the tournament to celebrate the birth of the new heir. And I tell you, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is not going to turn out the way he wants. And then after the episode, I was like, this is the reason why the phrase "don't count your chickens before they hatch" exists.
Right. But someone told him not to do that. Maybe it's too soon to be doing this.
She did.
But did she? Okay, she did.
They were talking when she was in the tub. She was like the tourney for the son that we have not had yet, or that we do not have. And he was like, I know it's a boy. And she was like, you do realize that he won't just automatically grow a cock if there's not one on him already. Like, she was trying to say, you need to prepare yourself for the fact that
just in case. Just in case.
You may want to wait. But no, he was like, he's had this dream and he had this vision of his son and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. To the point where you in the middle of the tournaments, she has started labor, everyone. She has started labor.
Yay!
Yay! No.
Yeah, how did that work out? Because she goes into labor. The baby is breech.
Ooh.
They can't get the baby turned. So he comes into the room with her and she is struggling. And I knew as soon as they said the baby is breaching, they can't turn, I was like, I already know what's about to happen. And it's not going to have a good outcome. I was not expecting it to be what it was. Because basically the maester told him, this is the point where some fathers have to make a difficult choice. Basically, you can choose the child to survive over her, or you can lose them both. Basically, he was telling you, your wife is not coming out of this alive either way. Now you have the decision, do we save the child or does the child die with her? But at this point, this is what you're looking at. You can choose the child or you can choose neither one of them. So he goes over to her and she's still kind of out of it and he's holding her hand. And you already know he's what decision he's made. And he's trying to make sure, are you sure, is this the way? Because they say, oh yeah, they've developed a method in the Citadel for separating the child from the mother.
Or did he say they have been working on a method? Not necessarily developed them.
Well, either way it goes,
there's a difference.
They need to perfect that shit because they went in there. No anesthesia, no nothing to numb her, whatever. She's sitting there looking worried, trying to ask the king what's going on. He was like, they're gonna take the babe. They're gonna get the babe. They're gonna get the babe out. And she's sitting there trying to figure out, well, how are they gonna do that? She sees them pick up a scalpel and she starts panicking, like, no, I don't want to do this. And he has her handmaidens holding her down to the bed.
Now I have an issue with that because at least warn her, let her know what's going on. You are like, they gonna get the baby. You okay? Okay. A scalpel come by, hands on your. Wait a second.
No, when they scooted her down the bed,
yeah.
Right?
Like
she was like,
you could have talked her through it. Like, okay, is at a point where neither one of you gonna survive or the baby. They want to try something.
Exactly.
That's all you need to do. They want to try something. Her
a choice.
Hold my hand.
Right.
Because they're gonna try to cut. You may survive. You know I'm lying, but you may survive. You could at least warn her, but you all, oh, it's okay. It is okay. This is not okay.
But here, I feel like if he had talked to her and at least she probably wouldn't have been accepting. I mean, she probably would have at some point because she is a mother. If she is told, okay, either we take this baby from you and you die or you both die. I feel like as a mother, she would have chosen her child over herself. She would have said, try to save my baby. She could have been prepared for the pain that she was going to go through. And I'm thinking specifically like comparison. I'm thinking of Lori Grimes' death in the second season of The Walking Dead. Same situation. She had to have an emergency C-section. There was no anesthesia. Maggie literally had to cut into her stomach while she was still alert, still awake, and she dies. But she knew what she was doing. She told her, you have to get this baby out. You have to save my child. I think if Emma had the same choice, yes, that birth would have still been horrible. It still would have been violent in the sense that they had to do a C-section with no medication, with no pain, with no way. They didn't knock her out. I think it would have gone a little more peacefully because one, she wouldn't have been struggling so much. And that might have helped the child come through a little bit better and maybe not be as stressed or been in so much distress. That child might have lived, you know?
Or she was in distress, so the baby would have been in distress.
Yes.
Right. I mean, think about it.
Because you had no choice of what was happening, no agency about what was occurring with your body. And that's all you needed was to be able to say, I make this choice myself that I do want my baby to live and I'm okay with dying. All right, give me something to bite on. I can do this. I can do this.
Or they could have gave her milk of the poppy and made her just a little more drowsy. Enough.
They said they gave her enough. They couldn't give her any more. They could give her some more.
So y'all can't give her any more milk of the poppy, but y'all can kill her outright.
Mm-hmm.
Well, milk of the poppy would have been bad for the baby. So
at this point,
did
it really make a difference?
At this point, it wouldn't get through that quickly for them to get
did
that.
Did it really make a difference?
She could, I mean,
think about it. You know how much it hurts when you just do, like, if you just get a paper cut or a small scratch. You have someone cutting into you, not just on the surface. They are cutting through several layers of skin to get to your uterus.
And then cutting in the uterus.
Y'all bringing up some memories.
I'm just saying, as a mother, as a 3-time C-section mother,
and
I felt that scene.
I'm gonna tell you. So the doctor said, I was in there. The doctor said, whatever you do, she told me, whatever you do, don't look behind the curtain. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever you do, don't look behind the curtain, Mr. Liggins. Okay. Oh no, that was a mistake.
What they did,
that was a mistake.
My ex-husband was watching with the first one, because I had to have an emergency C-section. I had been in labor for 30 hours and I never dilated past 1.5 centimeters. And they were like, yeah, so with the way your pelvis is sized, unless you have a child that's less than 6 pounds, you will never give birth vaginally. And I said, do you see the size of my husband? That will never happen. So they had to wheel me into surgery. Now, when they started explaining to me everything that was going on, because I was conscious the whole time. They're telling me what's going on and stuff, and he's literally watching them do this, and he's explaining to me everything that they're doing, because I was like, I want to know. When they took my uterus out and they set it on top of my stomach to get Michele out, he was like, God damn, they just stuck the whole thing. And I remember that because I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't laugh because I couldn't feel anything below my neck. Nothing. I was like, this is a weird feeling. I said, because I feel myself trying to laugh, and I don't know if I'm doing it or not.
He was better than I was, because I was curious, but I was not prepared.
Oh no, he gave a whole running commentary to everyone. So, he had the whole,
like I said,
he had the whole surgery room just cracking up.
I looked, and I was like, no.
Pass out?
No, I did not pass out.
Okay.
But when I close my eyes, I still see it. As clear as day.
However, for me, I still feel it some, because like with her, when they were about to cut in, they were like, do you feel this going across your stomach? And I'm like, yeah. It feels like you're taking a sewing needle and you're going across my stomach.
So I didn't feel anything.
They said, hold on a second. We're going to have to give you some more drugs.
Wow.
And if you feel it the next time we start again, then we're going to have to knock you out.
Okay.
But so they gave me some more epidural. So I didn't feel nothing for weeks and months.
Yeah. That's the part that's weird. Yeah.
I can't imagine being like Queen Emma on that bed, and you cutting the wrong way too. Okay, I need y'all to cut horizontal, not vertical.
Right, but back then that's what they did. They cut vertical.
Yeah. They're still working on it.
Oh, okay.
they're still working.
They can use like cows or something. I need them to use other animals. You know,
the thing that really got me was she was alive and awake for that whole
entire time.
Literally until they cut the umbilical cord, she was still struggling and still alive and still screaming. And I'm sitting there looking at this scene like, holy shit.
Yeah. So.
And the baby still didn't make it.
Right. I mean, at the beginning, you kind of, you have the maester, he's holding the baby, and you hear the baby, gurgling or, making sounds. And he says, you have a son. And Viscerys turns around. He's like, I have a son. And you hear the baby gurgling. And then it almost sounds like the baby starts struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next scene.
Well, the maester looked concerned. The maester looked concerned.
Right.
He was like, uh-oh.
Like, hold up. And then the next scene we see, they're on the beach. There's a funeral pyre. You see Viserys looking sad, and he looks up at his wife. And then the camera pans down, and there's the baby wrapped up. And I was just like, so you mean to tell me she went through all of that for nothing? Y'all could have knocked her out. Y'all could have given her a sedative, or you could have talked to her beforehand and made that transition a little more peaceful for her.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have made that birth more peaceful for that baby. And now, because you didn't, both of them are gone.
Yeah.
And now you stuck. But I mean, I feel for him. It was an impossible choice to make. But the way he made that decision, I feel like that was kind of like karma on him.
White male patriarchy. I said it. Yeah.
That was,
I'm not gonna say nothing else.
And especially since they have a relationship that they talk to each other, so you could have like talked this through with her.
Exactly.
He's still the king. He didn't feel like he needed to discuss anything with her.
No, I don't think it was that. I thought he was thinking, okay, let's just make this. I don't want to tell her that she's going to die, but damn, you're holding me down and you're cutting. I know something is not right, and you're violating me. I'm sorry. It was just a lot.
I don't know. I think at that point he fell into the I am the king. I made this decision. I don't need to talk to her about it. So I don't
even know if I feel like it was that. I think it was more so he probably was going on automatic, because if he allowed himself to feel and think too much,
he may change his mind.
Either he may change his mind, or he may not be able to make the decision that he needed to make. Because again, he loved his wife. And he struggled with that decision before it was made. You saw him when the maester told him, he was like, how you gonna tell me I gotta choose? I mean, unfortunately, he has to go through that a lot in this episode, because also when Hightower brings up the succession, he was like, I'm not gonna be made to choose between my brother and my daughter. But bruh, you're in a position where you got to make some choices.
Yeah, but can we wait a week? I'm like him though. Damn, my wife and son just died. Shit, y'all called me in the middle of the night to talk about this shit. Come on now.
They started
arguing. I'm not about to die tomorrow. I don't care. You keep saying foreseen circumstances.
I don't trust
Give
Tower.
me a few days. He's already like, okay, what we gonna do? What we gonna do?
He's pushing him. He's pushing him because he got his own things.
His own agenda.
His own agenda he's working on. He's pushing him. So he's, yeah. I'm gonna be on Otto. Great value, Littlefinger.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, Corlys is kind of just sitting back like.
And Daemon is off in the wings, listening in, but at least his brother was defending him. It's like,
he did.
He's my brother. What the hell are y'all talking about?
Right. At least it wasn't one of those situations where the brother's in the wings and the other brother's talking bad about him, or that sort of thing. So again, like I said, I feel like the brothers have this good relationship, or at least they had up until the end of the episode when he named his daughter as his heir, because it's almost like it comes out of nowhere, but it literally is just the result of chatter.
Yes.
And I think a little bit of guilt too, because he realized he hasn't been really fair to her.
Right.
After all this time, these 10 years, he really hasn't been fair. He hasn't been fair to her position or anything.
You think that was the first feeling, or maybe that came after you got hurt by your brother? Because you always defend your brother, and then he went off and said some things that was very insensitive.
No,
so now, King for a day. King for a day.
Air for a day.
Yeah, air for a day.
Air for a day.
I think he genuinely felt bad about, because when it came to thinking about, he really has some valid reasons why he doesn't think Daemon should be king. But then when you look at the alternative, well, damn, I didn't really treat her the way I should have.
Correct.
And I think he really felt that.
I agree.
I also felt like he made that decision out of being hurt. too. So I can't be like, oh, I'm so happy that he chose his daughter. I don't know if that just came from he was hurt by his brother. So it's like my other choice is my daughter. Oh, you know what? I didn't give her a fair chance. But I took my brother out of it because I was hurt, because I'm still grieving. And the things he said after I'm continuously defending him. Even though I know he's not going to be, he's not going to be a great king, but that's the choice. And I'm okay with that choice until he literally probably would have really chose his brother up until what his brother said. If he didn't say heir for a day,
if he had,
he would have been all
celebrating
right. Celebrating.
If he had time to think about it. But I think the thing that Daemon said to him struck home with him about family and about Targaryen blood being thick. And I think he started thinking, well, damn, my daughter is a Targaryen.
Yeah.
And I think that was a part of it. But I think Michele is right. I think if they had given him some space and time, he probably would have been like, these are the two things I would have liked to have seen happen. I think it could have worked out this way. One, he could have named her as his heir and be like, look, Daemon, I want you to be her hand. You know, when she becomes queen, I want you to be her hand.
Okay.
Because I know that you will do right by her. Because we clearly had that scene between him and between Daemon and Rhaenyra where you can see that he does care about her.
Yes.
He really means when he says he's all about the Targaryen family. So, or in the alternative, he'd be like, Daemon, I'm gonna name you my heir, but I need you to make sure that you protect her at all costs. Like, treat her as if she's your own. You know what I mean? Like, I know she's not gonna be queen. If I make you king, I want you to treat her like the queen that she should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, give Daemon that choice. Let him be a part of the process, because all Daemon wanted was to be his hand. He's like, you should have named me hand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Team Daemon. he was right. He should have, because Otto Hightower is a fuckboy. Get him out of there. Send him back. He's a second son that would never amount to anything?
Yeah.
Send him back to the Reach, wherever he's supposed to be. Get rid of his butt. Send him back to Old Town.
But no, Hightower is making moves of his own, because like we said, the queen's body is not even cold. His daughter comes in to see him because his daughter is best friends with Rhaenyra.
I wonder who said that.
Maybe more, but
I wonder who said that.
What you mean, maybe more best friends?
Yes.
Because I also feel like
I got a little lovers vibe from them.
I did too, but I also got one with Daemon too. I got confused. I'm like, do they have a connection, or is this some like chemistry? I'm confused. Okay, think about how she walked in, how he was talking to her, how he was like, let me put this necklace on. I was like, I thought you was her uncle. But again, I realized
they're Targaryens.
That don't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything.
They're Targaryens.
But then we go to the next scene and she's with her best friend. I'm like, well, then I'm confused. Okay, well, you have a lot of connections. People really like you.
And I was gonna say Damon's married, but then
it was an arranged marriage, and he does not like his wife.
Yeah.
So now, it doesn't matter.
He sounds like she's ugly too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but yeah,
he basically said it.
He ain't too hot on that.
He's not. But even in the book, and I'm trying to remember what the nickname was, but Rhaenyra was well loved throughout the kingdom. Like, everybody doted on her. That's that's the description in the book. Like, she was well loved. So I can imagine her being close to a lot of people. But like I said, her and Alicent, they give off the best friend vibe, but there's also something else there. Like, almost kind of feel like they're soulmates in a sense. That's the way the vibe was in this first episode, up until Dad sent her to go, quote unquote, comfort the king. And we don't see anything inappropriate happen there. But I think the assumption was there that she was there to give him comfort. And even in the books, she was actually a companion to the older king, Jaehaerys. she used to go in and she would keep him company and she would read to him. And she was a constant companion to him to the point where he started, as he got older, he started mistaking her for one of his daughters that had passed. So her, whatever this is, relationship with Viserys, you know, even after the end, when you see her at the end, when she's sitting with her father in the crowd and he has just publicly declared that Rhaenyra is going to be his successor, she has this look that's really weird. Like she's not happy about this. And the weird thing to me about that was in the beginning of the episode, you were kind of encouraging her, like, don't you want to be the heir? Don't you want these responsibilities? You're just shunning away from them. And Rhaenyra's like, I just want to ride dragons. And what does she? I just want to go to the islands with you, ride dragons, and eat cake. Literally, that's all she cares.
That's all she wants to do.
But the way that Alicent looked at her at the end, you would think that she was happy for her friend that she was being named successor, but she didn't look happy. And I was like, oh, this is where the conflict is about to come in, because I feel like I feel like the way that Hightower is pushing, the direction he's pushing his daughter, she about to become stepmama.
Right, and that's why I think she's conflicted, because she's sitting with dad reading him bedtime stories.
And if she
it's about to get quite interesting.
Right, because if she ends up marrying him, or even not marrying him, but she ends up pregnant and she bears him a son, now your son is about to usurp your bestie's place in the line of succession. So yeah, I have a feeling, I was like, yeah, y'all just set that all up and put it in a nice little bow in the first episode. Okay, I'm here for this. Show me what you got. Because this is about to get very messy. You got the brother who you literally just sent away from court, told him to go back home to his ugly wife.
Which he took his mistress with him.
What's her name? Myceria?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you just sent your brother away, pissed off. You just named your daughter the heir in front of everybody. And there were some people who were cool with it. There were some people who were not, namely the ones with the last name Baratheon.
So I have two side notes. One, so he gets sent to the Vale. He takes his mistress with him, and he's on his dragon. So no one's gonna be able to tell him anything.
No,
like he's gonna go to the Vale and he's gonna do whatever he wants because he's got a dragon. But he's probably not gonna go there. I think he's gonna go to Dragonstone. I don't think he's gonna go to the Vale. I think he's gonna go to Dragonstone. Because Dragonstone is usually where the heir stays until they become whatever. I think he's gonna go to Dragonstone.
Yeah, but you're not the Prince of Dragonstone, because that's literally the title that they give the successor. So
and the second side note, remember when Rhaenyra called that Baratheon cousin? I think the first Baratheon who was put in charge of Storm's End was actually a Targaryen bastard.
I think I remember. I think I do remember that part of the story.
And so, that's one of the reasons Robert Baratheon was able to claim the throne was the fact that he had Targaryen blood in him. But that's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was interesting. She called him cousin.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of knew that they were related.
But I think the other thing too is that when she had her claim for the throne, when it was down to her and Viserys, I think the Baratheons backed her claim over Viserys. So even though, he made that little snide remark about what was it, the queen that never was, I was like, there's no way in hell I would ever let anybody call me that nickname. Never.
The queen that never was.
The queen that never was. And said it out loud for everyone. And she just has to, And you just asked for my favor. if you don't get the fuck out of here and go get stabbed by whoever you're.
And at first I thought it was, it's kind of hard. Because at first I was like, oh man, that's a diss. But then the way the others was talking about, they still bringing it up. I mean, she didn't get it. I'm like, well, maybe that was a compliment. Because they still calling her the queen that wasn't.
I get it, but
because the other two guys were like, they need to let it go. She is not the queen anymore. He was like, yeah, no, I'm king.
And what was it that Hightower told the king? He said, you can have him beheaded for that. And he was like, it won't make a difference. It doesn't make
won't change anything.
Yeah, it won't change anything.
So then I was like, well, maybe that was a compliment for her, that they still remember that she was supposed to be the queen.
I don't know, but you don't have to keep digging that knife in and twisting it. It's been 10 years now. We all know.
Well, I don't know. It was an interesting thing to do, and it felt like maybe he was openly declaring his allegiance to her.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
That's how I felt.
Okay.
Once I realized it was a compliment, I was like, okay, so she has people who would prefer that she be the queen.
And that would sort of make sense, because remember when the Great Council got together, I'm sure there were people who voted for her to be queen.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just that Viscerys got more votes
because he's male,
right?
And they were like, she can't be queen. It's never been done. Guess what? It will never be done until somebody actually does it.
Yeah.
Well, she was crazy.
Well,
there's a discussion for another time.
Wait, which one? I mean,
they both were. Only one was a Targaryen.
Oh,
so much intrigue.
Yes.
But can we talk about the tournament just for a second? The name dropping was this hilarious. There was a Tarly mentioned. We saw Baratheon. Mm-hmm. Some Martell. A Martell was mentioned.
Yeah,
like, all over the place. The guy takes his helmet off. Ooh, he's Dornish. Okay, only like people who watched Game of Thrones would know why that would even be a thing.
Yeah. But I mean, it was not. It felt, even though this is taking place in a different time with whole different characters, for me, it felt comforting to hear names I recognize, to see the Red Keep in all its glory before the time that we saw it. But I mean,
devastation.
What'd you say?
The devastation.
Well, yeah. But I mean, just seeing all of that, it was very comforting to me. I was just like, oh, and then the music. Mm-hmm. The music. I was like, once they started playing and you could hear the Game of Thrones theme song, I was like, oh, we're home. That's how I felt. I was like, okay.
In the beginning, it was like there was hints of the theme. Mm-hmm. Like you didn't hear the full, you just kept hearing the little bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. But at the end, you get the full blown theme, which is awesome. Right.
And it was just like,
Now Hanako knows who I look forward to seeing and having a bigger role in future episodes. Who would that be, Hanako?
Let's see.
We only saw them twice.
Oh,
and I felt like that wasn't enough.
You talking about Graham McTavish?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. I'm like, okay, he's going to be a bigger part in the next few episodes.
Yes, he has to.
Yes, her right-hand man. So yes,
Howard Dougal. Yes, from Outlander. Did you also see that Ned Gowan from Outlander was in the show as well?
No,
he's on the small council.
Okay, I gotta watch it again.
Was that Strong? Was that him?
I believe so.
Oh, I have to look at it again.
But tonight. Yeah, I saw him. I was like, he's popping up everywhere, because Bill Patterson, he was also in he was in The Sandman. He was in the first episode of The Sandman. Mm-hmm. So I was like, he's just all over the place, which is great for me. Anywhere where I can see them, I'm good. But yeah, that tournament was brutal, because who was the one guy who kept unseating? Like, there were two Baratheon brothers there, and he knocked both of them off their horses.
Was it Cole? Something Cole? Was it
Crane or something like that?
I thought Cole was the last one with Damon.
Yeah, I think he was the one that was knocking everybody off.
Yeah, he was. He was the highlight.
He and Damon were beating everybody up.
And then when the other people were losing against each other, they decided to kill each other.
I was like,
excuse me?
Like, how you gonna get mad because he knocked you off your horse? It's a joust.
That's what we supposed to do.
Well, you have an option, right? You can be like, okay, I lost. Or you can be like, you know what? I challenge him to a fight. Because that's what,
Yeah, but some of them don't look like it was a challenge. It's like they jumped off the horse and was like, what? And the next thing you know.
I mean, even with that, Damon was getting his ass handed to him a little bit too.
Yeah.
I was looking at this like, oh, okay. And then when he thought he was Victor, that dude knocked him down. I was like, oh, and the king was sitting there laughing. Now that was the funny thing. I think it was one of those things where he was like, okay, you being a little arrogant, you being a little cocky. So I need to knock you off your, whatever. But that, I mean.
Oh, so Kristen Cole, that was the Dornish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've never had, I don't ever remember a Cole being in the other Game of Thrones.
I don't think so.
No, but they mentioned him several times.
Yeah.
And there was, I'm trying to think who else was there. I think they mentioned the Dondarrion. And let's see, they mentioned some Baratheons. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay. We got some familiar folks.
Oh, did they mention the Stark? Or that maybe later?
There was a Rickon Stark.
Oh yes,
Rickon Stark. He pledged his fealty to Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
at the end.
He sure did. I was like, I hope you don't go the way of your descendant.
But the North, they just stay up to the North. They don't deal too much in the crap that goes on in the South.
That's true. They
don't deal with that stuff. They got other business to take care of.
Yeah. They don't care about No, Lord Strong is not who
okay, that was him.
That was somebody else, but that Lord Strong person, he looked like he was just bored. When Damon was like, Lord Strong, what do you think? He was like, my Lord, I don't think. He was like, please don't bring me into
They kept cutting him off. Every time he would start saying something, either Corlys would cut him off, or Hightower would cut him off, or the Maester would cut him off. He just can't get a word in. He just said whatever.
I'm trying to think, who was it on the main show that was kind of like that, where it's like he was there, but people didn't pay him any attention? Who was that? They had a character like that. I don't remember. I think they had a character like, aside from Lancel Lannister.
Yeah. Other than that.
But
that second Grand Maester that that wanted to blow everything up. He was
Qyburn.
Yeah. They just kind of
no, because
he said some stupid stuff, but they just kind of ignored him. Except Cersei didn't. Cersei listened.
Right. She paid attention. And the reason why they ignored him was because he had disgraced himself at the Citadel. Yeah. He got put out of the Citadel. But yeah, I'm watching it in the background. Man, the way that Damon was kind of going off on Hightower about his wife being dead, he was like, yeah, he was like, if you want my wife, you can have her. I mean, given that your wife just recently passed.
Is it too soon?
Too soon? My bad.
Can I say that Matt Smith in this role?
Perfect.
He was perfect.
He was perfect.
And when I saw that he was going to be on the show as Damon, I was like, really? Matt Smith? And then watch him like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was
perfect.
It's almost like because I've seen him in other things. Now, I'm not a Whovian, so I haven't really watched him but I've seen him in other things. And he plays the characters that he's given very well. But there was something about this character, the presence of Damon.
Yes, how he
seemed so much bigger.
Yes, how he carried himself.
Yes.
I noticed that.
He has such presence on the screen. It's kind of like you feel him, even though he is the second brother, even though he isn't the Hand of the King or whatever. he still has this presence, like you're supposed to pay attention to him. I was like, okay. And then I will say this too, the scene in the brothel. I've not seen him that buff. And I'm just talking of,
Wait, did you not see Morbius?
Was he that buff in
Morbius? Yeah.
And I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was.
No, I kind of
after you realize he took the stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah. But I kind of put
zoned out,
out of my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, he has a presence for this character. It's kind of like just there. And I was like, yeah.
And then the blonde hair just fits him too. I mean,
it does.
He looks like a Targaryen.
He does.
He just looks like. And I swear, I know whenever they describe, I can't remember his name, but John's father, the man, Rhaegar. Whenever they describe his armor in the book, I swear that was the armor they were describing that he wore. It's almost like, except for it missing the big ruby in the middle, it was his had little rubies on it, and Rhaegar's supposedly had a big ruby that Robert shattered when he hit him with the
okay.
But the way they describe his armor, it seems like it's very similar. That may just be a standard for Targaryen armor, but he also uses Dark Sister, which is a Valyrian sword that comes up a lot later as well.
I noticed that. I was like, okay, so like I don't think we like, what is the history behind Dark Sister? Because when Rhaenyra mentions it, it's almost like when he's giving her the Valyrian steel necklace, and she was like, this is Valyrian steel, like Dark Sister. It's like he jerked back, and I was like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah. And was Dark Sister one of the Aegon's sister's sword? I think. I think it was. I can't remember if it was Visenya or the other one.
Okay.
It was one of their swords. Because those swords get passed down, because they don't dull.
Okay. Yeah.
They stay sharp.
Yeah.
And they can cut through just about anything. They're special.
Okay. Just like we see the dagger.
And he showed the dagger.
I was just about to say the dagger again. Because that is the same dagger, correct? That
kills the Night King.
And he touches it when he's telling her the story. The Aegon's dream.
Let's talk about this. Y'all so busy keeping secrets. Y'all could have told this shit and maybe been more prepared for the White Walkers 172 years down the line. But if y'all were hearing this story way back then, why were y'all just passing it from king to king or from king to descendant and not being more prepared? Like, did you guys
because it sounds
really
crazy?
And I understand that, but crazy. So does having 10 dragons at this point.
It sounds crazy. And they didn't trust anyone else with that information because it sounds fantastical and crazy. And it's like, let's just keep this between us and let's just keep the kingdom together. But we're just gonna keep it between us just in case. Because they never envisioned they never saw themselves losing control of all the kingdoms. They had them all together. And as long as they had the dragons, as long as the 7 kings were together, they didn't have to tell anyone, because when it happened, they'd be able to call up an army and take care of it.
Yeah, but shit happens and the story didn't get passed down, and then
here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Luckily, it didn't.
172 years later,
you got the wall coming down.
Right.
Rhaegar had a dream.
Basically, no dragons. Even though it's 3, but really no dragons. So, I mean,
Rhaegar's dream sort of brought it back. So, but the Mad King wasn't passing on anything. The Mad King,
Well,
he had gone into his mind where that's why he was stockpiling all the stuff from all the what was it called? Why can't I think?
Wildfire.
So that's why he was stocking up on it. because of the secret.
Right.
That's what it was for.
That's why he was doing it for the secret. Okay, because I was thinking that the secret kind of stopped here.
He was stocking it up because of that.
Okay.
I think he kind of felt it was coming, but he also was crazy. He was crazy too. That's how he dealt with it. And Rhaegar's dream was supposed to balance it out. So,
but of course that didn't happen because he fell in love with a Stark that was promised to a Baratheon, and all that stuff happened. So yeah.
Well, because he had to complete the Song of Fire and Ice, which was Jon. So,
which didn't go anywhere. But let's not.
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. He got enough people together to stop it.
He did. He didn't do anything else, but he did unite the people.
He got enough of the Seven Kingdoms
and
together.
he was able to control his aunt for a second.
I know, but
However, he has a bigger story that wasn't displayed, but that's for another podcast. But all the things that make Jon right, and maybe something, because what makes
they are doing a spinoff. They are doing a spinoff on about Jon Snow. So.
Yeah. So hopefully, well, it's too late for him to live up to all of the mystery and tales about how he was born and who he is. He didn't live up to that. Only thing he lived up to was riding the dragon.
The punchline is probably going to be like that in the book, because I guarantee you the book is going to be completely different than what the show did.
So hopefully in the book he lives up to that. But however, some people have these great stories about themselves and they're this, they're that, and they don't live up to much either. I think they just inspire other people.
Well, one of the other things about the show is prophecies aren't really what we think they are, and they don't really usually amount to anything anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's one of the tropes that George R. R. Martin kind of throws at us a lot. The prophecies are not really anything anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's not related to what we're watching now.
No, so
yeah. But I guess we're just trying to prepare ourselves. But one thing that I've said, because people are like, yeah, after the last show, I'm scared they're gonna let me down. I'm like, they have different showrunners for this show. They have different writers. So the people who were involved in the original show, they're not a part of this in that sense. They've been kicked to the curb. Yeah, they do have one of the directors who is, on board. But other than that, totally different storytellers, totally different showrunners. And not only that, they're not adapting a story that they'll have to make up stuff as they go. Mm-hmm. This is a story that's already been completed. So they already know where this story is going to go. They have a clear outline. So,
well, I'm going to be devil advocate on this one. They did for the original Game of Thrones, because he told them how it ends. And they got us to the end. Y'all just don't like how they got us to the end.
But
I was all right with it. But the way where all the characters are at the end is where he wanted those characters to be.
No.
No,
because he stopped his involvement for some reason. He said they started diverging from the book more and more. And then by season 5, he wasn't consulted anymore. Like, they completely shut him out.
So they didn't use his notes from the beginning of the end? No, because he told them the end.
They asked him some questions and he told them, okay, this is who's still alive. He didn't know how they were going to get there.
Right. I got
that. Couldn't have, because he's been writing this last book for the last 10 years.
So he didn't really have notes.
It's going to be another 10 years.
Like, well, he told them that, Jon is such and such and blah, blah. And at the end, Jon, Tyrion, and Daenerys was supposed to be alive.
Oh, so he said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that,
never mind. I take it back.
Other than that, how they got there was their idea and story. He had nothing to do with that. So.
So, but again,
and we won't know what the ending will be. I'm just preparing people, because
stop. Don't say it. Stop. Stop.
You know, he takes offense to that.
He takes offense to what?
Did. He takes offense to people saying that he's not going to be able to finish the book.
Well, you know, life is short and things happen. And the rate we're going, you know, it may be another 10 years.
And
or he can write it in heaven. I don't know what else I could say about that. I mean,
but the thing you're missing, Michele, even after he gets done with this book, there's still supposed to be one more book.
Well, you know, our grandkids will get to read it.
Or maybe our great.
He's gonna outlive us all.
I mean,
he's gonna outlive us all. So,
as long as he's writing that book, okay.
It's gonna be a ghostwriter, and it will be when our grandkids are our age. Then, oh, we get to read the last book. Okay, I'm a little upset about this because it's taking him a little tad bit too long to finish a book.
I know,
but I understand the craft, and it has to be perfect.
Well, I don't think they're consulting with him on this show too much. I know he said they talked to him about it, but I don't think he's that involved. Like, he's involved, but I don't think he's fully in like he was with the first.
No, but he has seen all 10 episodes and apparently loves what they've done with it. Yeah. Said that they did a really, really true adaptation from page to screen. And
we're not going to talk about the I was going to say the bad word. We're not going to talk about the issues that certain people have had with Laura Corliss.
We're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it.
Because here's the thing. If you read the book, it does not mention his race in the book, not once. Not once.
It doesn't. And people have their assumptions in their mind about whatever, and they should just get over it.
Yes, true. They should.
That's all I want to say about it.
Yeah.
And if you can't see how incredible that Steve Toussaint is in this role, then there's something wrong with you. Because he's killing it.
He is. Look, but however, can we get a new wig person for the children? I'm just saying.
We probably won't see them babies that much, so it probably really doesn't matter.
Look like mom don't know how to do that hair. I'm just saying. Okay.
Or she just letting them go natural.
First of all, mom is not touching hair.
Well, this is true.
That is true though.
So the servants don't know how to do
they don't know how to do hair now. Come on now. Those edges was rough.
Natural hair.
So, but you know what? Maybe in the future, we're going back to Game of Thrones. Maybe in the future they will redo the last 3 episodes or something.
We let's not even.
Okay.
Let's.
Why you keep trying to drag? I'm trying to drag us out of Game
because
of Thrones.
If this works out to be perfect, these 10 episodes, then they need to revamp the last season, and then we will have this perfect 2 shows.
Let it go.
Like, I'm fine with it, but however, John gets his own show, I'm there for it.
He's getting his own show. They've already confirmed it.
So I'm good. I would like the dragon to come back and look for John too.
Can we have more of Graham Tavish? Yes,
McTavish.
More of Graham.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, but he has to have a bigger role because I believe that he will be her protector, queen. Is she gonna be queen?
You see how distracted her back to the
yeah. Because I'm so excited. And it bothered me.
That's a good way. That's a good
It bothered me because like we saw him a tidbit when she was getting off the dragon and like, oh yeah, you know, I will have my head cut off if you didn't come back. And then he said some information to her during the tournament, and then that was it. I'm like, no, this man is too big to be just some errand boy.
He's too busy filming all the other stuff he's doing.
I don't care.
This is true, but that's okay. It was only the first episode. We still have 9 episodes.
Yeah, we do.
So we have plenty of time to see him. I haven't even looked at IMDb to see how many episodes he's in because I don't know if they have them all loaded yet. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm just going to be pleasantly surprised every time he pops up on my screen. And yeah. It's
He's gonna fight Damon.
It's fine.
Towards the end.
I'm sitting here looking at this birth in the background. This woman is still alive. She is still alive while they are pulling this baby out.
Oh.
That's just...
But just like she told Emma said in the beginning, motherhood is like the battlefield.
Childbirth is your battlefield. She tried to tell her daughter, yeah, this will be you in a few years. And Daenerys was looking at her like,
they're like, hell no. You got the wrong one.
Like, absolutely not. She reminds me a lot of Arya. Or Arya reminds me a lot of her. Like when she came in late during the tourney, her dad's giving this big speech, and she's like ducking down, trying to get in the front. He just looks at her like, really? And then what was the other meme somebody posted? They said when Queen Emma told Rhaenyra that she stinks like dragon, that was the Black mother's equivalent of you smell like outside. And I was telling my kids that, and before I even got to the punchline, they were like, you smell like outside. I was like, okay, y'all knew what it was. So yeah, that was funny. But again, amazing episode. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was like, this was one of those episodes where I was looking for the next one afterwards, because with Netflix you get everything at once. You don't on HBO, which is cool because it gives us time to rewatch the episode and to kind of think about it. Because Game of Thrones, in any form, book, the TV show, this new spinoff, it gives you a lot to think about and a lot to process. And I think I don't want to say the impact of the show, I think, would be lessened if we got them all at one time. But I feel like this is a grand meal and we need to savor each course instead of rushing through it like a buffet.
Remember what drove Game of Thrones when it first started was the Monday morning discussions about what happened last night on Game of Thrones. It became, remember, we always talking about appointment TV. Everybody had to watch Game of Thrones on Sunday night. So everybody could talk about it Monday morning at the water cooler.
Because there were no spoiler warnings. If you didn't watch it, that's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah.
That night, because even if you were like on the message board or Facebook, if you weren't watching it at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, you're going to be spoiled.
And if you're on the West Coast, don't be on Twitter.
Don't be on Twitter
until 9 o'clock your time, because you will get spoiled, like hella spoiled from 9:01 until.
Yeah. So I think hopefully, well, not hopefully, but maybe that will help drive this show as well. People talking about it on Monday.
I'm ready for it.
And they spared no expense.
They really didn't.
And also COVID.
But they haven't with these shows. I mean, even there was another spinoff that they had started filming. They actually filmed a pilot episode. I think I read somewhere that it cost them almost $30 million to film this pilot episode. And then they scrapped it, which I'm really pissed about because Jamie Campbell Bower was supposed to be in it. And I was really looking forward to it. And maybe now that he's getting all of this, all of this recognition now for Stranger Things, maybe they'll go back and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we can bring that back to play. I would love it. But yeah, they didn't spare any expense on this.
And the other thing I noticed, how we watched new shows that were filmed during COVID, you can kind of tell. I couldn't really tell with this one because they had large crowd scenes. I don't know if they did it with special effects or whatever, or how they filmed it, but it seemed like pre-COVID stuff.
You couldn't fake that brothel scene with CGI.
No,
either one of them.
However,
with the whores and the lick spitters.
For one split second, I was saying lick splitter. I had to work that in my head a few times to figure out what that was.
It's so sad I just got it now. Because when we watched it twice, I was like, what? Okay, never mind. I'll figure it out later. Now I get it.
I'm sitting right there. You could ask me.
No, I mean, it just said it so quickly, and I'm like, okay, just.
Where's the lick spitters?
I just hollered. I hollered.
For a second, I had to turn it over in my head. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So. But however, when you look at the credits, there's like a full page of COVID advisor, COVID testers, COVID PA. So they worked it out.
Yeah. Because I know on some sets, even here, like I know The Walking Dead has very, very strict COVID protocols on their sets. Some of these people, they're testing every single day. Some twice a day, because you never know when you're going to pick this thing up.
Yeah. And even watching Sandman, you can tell that they showed enough did not have too many people on set during.
But with that show, they really didn't need it. They really didn't need it. But this one, it felt like Game of Thrones.
It did. Yep.
So, I mean, even just the sets, I don't know if they used the same sets or if they had to rebuild new sets. That throne room is insane. That throne room is insane. Oh, so let's talk about this. The sword that King Viscerys has on his back that's not healing. He says that he got it, it's a cut from one of the swords on the Iron Throne. I read a theory somewhere. Somebody was wondering if the reason why it's not healing is because he's being poisoned. And I was like, how would that happen? And somebody said, well, remember, Daemon was sitting in the throne when Rhaenyra came into the throne room. Maybe there was something he was putting on it. And I was like, I don't know, because I don't feel like he wants the crown bad enough to kill his brother. Again, I feel like there is some genuine brotherly love there. But that damn Otto.
Yeah, I'm about to say Otto. I would put past him.
On the other hand, I wouldn't put it past him.
Right. And King Viserys got cut again when he was sitting the last time he was on there. Got cut on his hand, so it's cutting him up.
Well, if you read the lore of the throne, they always get cut.
Yeah.
The throne is not meant to be comfortable. And if you sit in it, you are going to get cut.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting literally on a throne of swords.
Yeah.
But he's not healing from his cuts, and that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Somebody was like, does he have diabetes? Like,
I was about to say that, like, he have a condition, it's not gonna heal.
It could just be bad infection because it's pussy and this is nasty.
It is
very much so.
But then also, he could be hemophiliac. I mean, he could really just not have clotting. He just may have issues with that. That could contribute to his children always dying.
You're right.
I mean, when you do enough inbreeding, you're gonna have some weird, crazy issues.
That is true.
That pop up. Which I'm not poisoning, because I would not put it past Otto Hightower. Not one bit. I wouldn't put it past him having the Maesters kill all those babies either. I would not put it past him.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I wonder what was in that little scroll Otto Hightower sent to the Citadel.
This isn't the Citadel is in the Reach. It's in Old Town. So the Maesters and the Hightowers have been pretty close for a while. But anyway, that's just not a theory. Just putting it out there.
No theories.
No theories here. It's too early for theories, guys. We're not there yet. I know Mike would disagree, but we're not there yet.
He probably would. We'll ask him when he comes back from his vacation.
It's never too early for theories. Yeah.
But the last thing I want to say, going back to this Otto Hightower, just because this scene is playing in the background, the fact that you have your daughter there and you ask her about Rhaenyra, how she's doing, and she was like, well, she lost her mother, and you're sitting there and you're comforting your child like, I thought of your own mother today, like you're really this doting father, and then you literally back off from her and like, so I think you should go give the king some comfort. And she's looking at him like, you mean in his chambers? He was like, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, put on your mama's dress.
Somebody was like, why is he telling her to put on her mama's dress? I said, because he about to whore his daughter out to the king.
Right.
She was like, oh, I was hoping that wasn't the reason.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then how she walked in there, she had that book clutched to her chest. I can read you a story.
I would rather her read him a story, and it was a historical book, so I feel like, maybe
she did the right thing. She was like, let me take a book, but she had that book clutched to her chest like, this is not what I want to do.
I'm sure she knows what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure she knows.
But he looking like, oh, why are you in here? First of all, I love his hobby. And how long did that take him?
And he is very skilled at it.
Yes, he is.
Because I'm sitting here looking at him now, like he's got a he literally has carved a model of the Red Keep, and there's a dragon sitting on top. And I was like, look at the detail in this thing, and it's huge. Can I have that kind of talent?
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome.
Like other kings that we've seen in the show, when they get bored, they go deal with their whores and all this other stuff. This dude is carving a stone replica of his kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rhaegar was a musician, and a very good musician. He was going around singing and making money singing. So singing.
Yep. But again, I love this episode. I'm so excited for this series. Like I feel that same excitement that I felt when Game of Thrones started. Like, again, I'm looking forward to the next episode. I'm waiting to see what they're doing. I'm like, okay, like last night, no lie, I almost got on the chat and be like, okay, does anybody want a podcast tonight? It was like 11:30 and I had just watched it for the second time. It's like, I think we can get, because I don't go to bed till like 2 anyway. So I was literally plotting like, okay.
Oh, because I had said, oh, don't you want to talk about the show? Like,
absolutely. I was about to message you and be like, are you talking about tonight? Because we can do tonight. And I was like, nope, Michelle not about to cuss me out and be like, yo, we got to go to work in the morning.
I would have done it. Because I said we should have did it today. That's why I was like, I'm doing it with Hanako. Everybody else can jump on later.
Right. Because I was thinking,
oh man, I want to do it, but I got stuff to do. I said, well, we're doing it at 9 o'clock. Okay, I think I can make it.
I was rushing.
Because I was, for some reason, I got it in my head. I was like, okay, we recorded Walking Dead tonight. And then her and Casey were like, no, isn't that tomorrow? I was like, oh, that is tomorrow. I was like, okay, well, I have some time. I can sit here and do this, or I can do that. And I was like, no. Hey, anybody want to record tonight? Anthony was like, yep.
I can. You didn't say a number the word.
I mean, sometimes we got to do it. Mike is out of town till next Thursday. That's a whole week and a half. I can't do it. I can't. I was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to hold this for a week and a half. And then especially when he comes back, it'll be time for me to go to DragonCon, because my first day at DragonCon starts on Thursday night, my first panel. But the fun thing is too, I found out quite by accident when I downloaded the schedule yesterday that I am also on the House of Dragons panel on Sunday.
I saw that.
I was like, yes, that's awesome. So yes, I get to talk about the show at DragonCon in addition to us doing the podcast recording. So yay, I'm excited.
I'm so excited for both of you guys being on that track. I'm so excited.
The high fantasy track.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
You have had issues with that.
But
track,
I'm excited. That's what we're talking
I am
about.
too. I'm excited too.
Yes. So we're gonna do a separate episode about Dragon Con coming up, and then we'll do a follow-up. But I guess for House of Dragons episode 1, do you guys have any final thoughts?
I'm excited for the show. I'm ready to see where this is going to take us.
I'm excited to be back in this world.
Yes.
And with a new story. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. I agree with both of those. So on that note, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel and listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.